Welcome back to Project Build. Today we're talking about working on your toilet. So we wanted to talk about two pretty common problems that happen with toilets. One is when a fill valve goes bad, and another is when you have an internal leak of the toilet. So what I mean by that is when you have a leak where you can hear water dripping, but there is no water outside the toilet. You know, it's not damp, there's no water getting out, but you can hear something dripping. So what that most likely means is that you've got water getting by your flapper here. Either that or the overflow valve is cracked somewhere and water is getting through and is escaping the tank and getting down into the bowl. You know, that's not bad in that water is not going to get into your house and destroy anything, but it does waste water over time and can add up. Replacing both these things is a pretty common repair for toilets. It's something that with a little guidance, most people can do right at home. For replacing a flapper, you generally don't need any tools at all, and replacing a fill valve takes minimal tools and it's pretty quick. You know, you can do it about 10-15 minutes if you have an idea of what you're doing, a little longer if you don't. So I'm going to show you how to do these, and before I do, I kind of want to show you, like, how do you know your fill valve's bad? Well, you might hear it running and never shut off. You know, if the float is messed up, this is an old school style float. Or in our case, ours is a little more extreme. So if yours does this, you know it needs to be replaced. Yeah, that got water up on the ceiling. Oh man, that's pretty bad. The first thing you want to do before working on anything inside the tank is to come down here and turn off this water supply valve. So turn it all the way to the right till it stops. And then you can come up and flush the toilet and make sure all the water gets out of the tank into the bowl. There's still some water left in this tank, and it's probably a good idea to get a sponge and get that water out, because when you take off this fill valve, all that water is going to start leaking out. It's going to make a mess, and it's just a pain. And something I want to mention about these supply valves is that if they're old, they're often pretty stuck, and you're probably going to have to grab some pliers. I usually use like a channel lock or something just to twist them. And at that point, it's a good idea to go ahead and replace these valves, which we can cover at another time. You can see I replaced this one recently because the old one was leaking. All right, I got all the water, for the most part, taken out of the bottom of the tank. So what we want to do first is take this flapper off. You can see kind of right here how this hasn't set up against the plastic lip here. And there's just, you know, kind of a whole lot of play in this going side to side. And that just really makes it so it's inconsistent. So sometimes it seals fine, other times it kind of sits more off like this, then water can actually get by on the edge there. That's no good. So we want to replace that. So to take it off, it's kind of flexible. There's little plastic clips on the side of this overflow tube. You just kind of pull it off. It's pretty simple. And then you want to unhook it from the toilet handle right here. All right, so we got it unhooked. Gross, throw it away. Now it's time to actually replace the flapper. I want to talk about what I'm actually using. I'm using a fill valve and flapper kit. This comes together since these are really common repairs. You can buy them separately, and a lot of times you only need one or the other, but like I said, I need both for this. Okay, got the new flapper here, and some of them have cardboard rings like that. Make sure you take that off because it definitely won't seal with that on. So we just want to take it down and put it in here, and this one has rigid plastic arms, unlike the flexible ones on the old one that came off. So you want to take them down and put it on here and press it down until it clicks into place, and do the same thing on the other side. And now that flapper is sort of installed, so we got to attach the chain to the toilet handle up here. And a trick I kind of like to use for this is to basically let the flapper hang loose and then take the ring here so the chain is taut but not actually pulling up the flapper, and then mark that ring with your finger, and then take the little hook there and hook it into that ring where you marked, because that'll give you about the 1/2 inch of slack you're supposed to have because of the length of this actual hook. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. All right, new flappers in, hooked up. Got a little bit of play in the chain here, which is good. Pull it up. Works, everything looks good. Now we gotta move on to replacing this fill valve. So we start doing that by taking off this old water supply line here. And as you can see, I've recently replaced this because like so many other things, the old one was leaking. So I should be able to do this by hand. Now while we've gotten all the water out of the tank, and that won't come out until you actually undo this flange nut here, there is still water in this line. And so you will get a little bit of water everywhere. You can put a cup under to help with that. Okay, so even though it's a new line, still can't do that with one hand. So I'm gonna get a pair of channel lock pliers and take that off. Don't judge my grip strength though. Sometimes you just gotta have the right tool. Okay, so you got this supply line off. You could take it off the valve, but I wouldn't do that. Just kind of push it out of the way. If you have a rigid one, now would be a good time to actually replace that with a flexible one. It's a lot easier for future repairs. If it's in good shape, you can leave it. It just makes it harder to replace the actual fill valve. So now we got to get off this flange nut that's actually holding the fill valve to the tank. You can see it better there. To do that, since I'm replacing it and I don't care, I'm going to use channel locks. If you were going to try to preserve it, you'd want to use the right size wrench or an adjustable wrench to get that off. Alright, so you'll want to go ahead and take this flange nut all the way off. And once that's all the way off, you pick the camera back up. And you can come up to the top here. Now that it's off the bottom, leave it loose and that'll pull right out. And this is why you get all the water out of the tank. Because if there's water left, it's going to start flowing out. It's going to start dripping out pretty quickly as you take off that nut. But once you actually pull this out, you're going to flood your bathroom. Now that the fill valve's out, it's a good time to go ahead and take a paper towel and just clean around that surface where the fill valve sits. There's a gasket on there. You just don't want anything, any debris or anything to get caught in between that and prevent it from making a good seal. So just quickly do that. Sitting in place here, it's not actually installed at all. I wanted to show you that the top of this fill valve is too low right now, and this is adjustable, so it's easy to fix. But what that means is that the top of this fill valve should be about 3 inches higher than this overflow tube, give or take, maybe roughly in line with the hole for the toilet handle here. And that just allows for more water to fill the tank. That's kind of how you adjust how much water goes in. This is also an adjustment screw here. So go ahead and take this out, and every fill valve is going to be different, so just look at the instructions that come with it. I'm going to go ahead and do that and adjust it to the right height. Now that we've got the fill valve here, we got to take the refill tube and attach it to the fill valve. To do that, you just press this part over, push it on until it goes on pretty far, and then you open up this clip and slide it over so that it holds it in place. And the other end you're going to take and we're going to put on this little clip that goes on the overflow tube here to direct it in. But you'll notice that this tube's probably a little too long right now, because if it would stick up and be above the top of the tank. So what I want to do is cut it off, and I'll start by just doing a little bit, because if I do too much, you can't really fix that. So snip it and check that. So it'd be right about there. And that looks like it should work. So let's go ahead and press that on, just like we did the other side. Press it on all the way. Pull the clip down over it. And and slide it on so that the water actually is directed into the middle. Okay, to attach the fill valve to the tank, we have this rubber gasket that goes on the bottom here, and we have to press that all the way up to underneath here. It's got the washer pressed all the way up against the shank here. Now I'm going to place the fill valve through and use this plastic nut to tighten it to the tank. Just place it in, and we go down under here. You can see it sticking through here now. So we just put this plastic nut on and tighten it. Then you just hand tighten this the way you don't want to do it with any pliers or any kind of leverage. That'd be too tight. Just hand tighten it. All right, and that's good. Now we need to reattach our water supply line. So we just put that up, we hand tighten it on, make sure not to cross thread it. If it's hard to go on at all, start over. It should go on real easy. So get it up, hand tighten it. All right, this should be good. So at this point, we're pretty much ready to turn our water back on and check for leaks. Alright, looks good down here so far. See the water coming out of that refill tube right there. And everything looks good. Okay, so the toilet tank's full of water again and nothing appears to be leaking. I am going to leave this towel down here for about a day, just to make sure if anything is leaking I can catch it. And then I'll check on it. But if you go a day and there's no leaks, you should be good to go. One last thing, I want to know that I did restrict the flow of this overflow tube a little bit, because what this does is it actually, as the tank is filling up, this controls how much water is going down into the toilet bowl, and it was a little more than I wanted, so I adjusted that so that the water level in the toilet bowl will be a little lower. So that's what that does. All right, so thanks for watching.